So, should strength athletes do hypertrophy phases, or should they just focus on strength? Now, we know that strength and hypertrophy are two different things and are trained in different ways. Obviously, with strength training, it's about the intensity, the weight itself being specific and increasing over time. Obviously, with hypertrophy, there are many different ways to skin a cat, but the main principle is trying to increase volume of training. So the volume within strength training is obviously inherently lower. The reality is that, when I advise people with hypertrophy style training, I kind of generally say that they want to mix it up a bit, can do some heavy phases which are more strength orientated, but then they can do lighter phases. They can do things like myo reps, which we've done videos on before, and things like that, which kind of gives still a nice hypertrophic response, but it gives tendons and joints a little bit of a respite, alongside obviously normal periodization and deloading. The trouble with the periodization with strength training, it's harder to diminish the load within the periodization too much, because you need the load to stay high or high enough to still keep things ticking over. But I would say that even though that there isn't 100% correlation between the size of a muscle and the strength of a muscle, lots of neurological drive, I would still say that it still does make sense that the bigger a muscle, the stronger potentially the muscle is. So if someone has, trained for hypertrophy and develops big muscle but doesn't really ever do any much strength work, they'll have lots of muscle, but they will not have much neural drive of that muscle. So they won't have really increased their recruitment of that muscle because they haven't trained that way. If they were to then train that way, they may well then have more muscle to recruit. So if their percentage is 70% of more muscle, well, that's going to be stronger, surely. It's got to be. And therefore, this comes down to the play of where a strength athlete can do some hypertrophy phases. So yes, during that phase, they will probably not see any strength improvements, possibly even see some reduction. But it's the long-term plan here you'll be looking at. It means that you can give your tendons and joints a bit of a rest and a break from that heavy stuff all the time. And you then can develop some more muscle tissue. And then when you go back into your strength phases later on, then you've got more muscle to play with. And therefore, if you increase the neural output of that muscle, then you may even be even stronger than before. So I would say it's got a twofold benefit. One is recovery and not getting injured. And the other one is that building more muscle may well actually in turn develop more strength once you develop the output of that new muscle. So I would say my advice would be to maybe try that. So have a few training blocks of the typical periodized strength work, but then every so often have a little training block, maybe like 6 weeks even, of some lighter load work, but still going pretty close to failure, but with a bit more volume. And your tendons and joints will thank you for that. And then you go back into your strength stuff. Now you might need to build up a bit, obviously back to the strength you're at, and then hopefully maybe beyond. So it's just an idea, something that might help you to not get injured as easily, to give you a bit of rotation within your training, and something that may actually be beneficial for your strength in the longer term. So give it a try, and I'll see you next time.